This video is for Theme Communication Unit Alphabet Soup, and this is video 1. In this video we're going to be using Tizzy's First Tools, and we're going to be using the right program. Now before we start, we need to make sure that the level 3 star has been selected, so make sure that that one's turned yellow. If it hasn't, move your arrow over to it and click. Once you've got the level 3 star selected, move your way over to the right button and click on that. That will open up this program, and this is what we're going to use to create a document for year 1 that will teach them about the alphabet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this white area, and I'm going to use this white area as if it was a piece of paper. So this is where I'm going to do all of my work. I'm then going to use some of these buttons at the top throughout this unit to create my document for year 1. To start with, I'm going to move my arrow over to the top corner here and click. You'll notice that what happens is it puts a red line onto my screen, and that shows us that we're ready to start our typing. Now obviously when we type we use something called a keyboard. The keyboard is the device that we have in front of us that has all the letters and buttons on it ready for us to start typing. And some keyboards might look like this one here. We're going to be using this keyboard to write a document again that will show year 1 about the alphabet. So I'm going to start by writing A is for apple. Now you can see that I've got a mixture of capital letters and small letters. Now to create those capital letters I used my keyboard, and I used a special key on my keyboard called the Shift key, and that's this button here. The Shift key is usually a long button on the right hand side of your keyboard with an arrow pointing upwards on it. It might not look exactly like this one, but it will either have an up arrow on it or it will say the word Shift. Once you've found that button, to create a capital letter you need to keep hold of the Shift button and then click on the letter that you want to turn into a capital. So in this example I would keep hold of the Shift button with one hand and press the letter A with my other hand, and that would create for me a capital A. I can use this technique with lots of other letters. So for example, if I wanted to create a capital B, I would keep hold of the Shift button and click on the B. If I wanted to create a capital S, I would keep hold of the Shift button and press the S button. So you can do that with all the buttons that are on your keyboard. Now, once I've got my A is for apple, the next thing I'm going to do is draw an apple. So, to teach year 1 students about the alphabet, I'm going to do something like A is for apple and draw an apple. On the next line I might do something like B is for ball and draw a ball. On the next line I will do C is for car and draw a car. And then I can give that to the year 1 students to hopefully teach them about the alphabet. So, the next thing I need to do is to draw my apple. Now, I'm going to need a picture of an apple, or I might need to draw the apple myself. So to find out whether I've got a picture of the apple, I need to click on one of these buttons up here. Which one do you think it is? That's right, it's this one. If I move my arrow over this button, it'll say pictures, and if I click on that, I get a list of different pictures here that I could use in my document. Now I have already had a look through these pictures and I know that there's not an apple. So these pictures might come in helpful later on, but for now, for my A is for apple, I'm going to have to use a different way to get a picture of an apple on here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw an apple myself. To do that, I'm going to draw a picture of a circle to start with. Now which tool or which button could I use up here, do you think, to draw a circle? Well, I could use my pencil tool and draw one myself, or I can use this button here, which is called Shapes, and I can use this shape here to start drawing my apple. Obviously this is a circle shape, so if I click on that, keep hold of my mouse button and drag it across onto my screen, I now have a circle. And you can notice these red dotted lines and these red squares around it. What the red squares do is if I click on that red square, keep hold of my mouse button and drag, I can make that circle bigger. Now I don't want it to be that big, I actually want it to be a little bit smaller, like that. If I move my arrow inside this circle so that I've got a pointing finger, I can then click and drag and move that circle around. So notice how my arrow changes from an arrow to arrows like this. That means that I can resize my circle. If it changes to a pointing finger, I can move my circle. And if I put it over this green square here, I can rotate my circle like that. There we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to change its colour because I've never seen a blue apple before. So to change its colour, I need to click on the circle so that it's selected. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit so that it looks more circular, like that. And then once it's got this red box around it, it means I've selected that circle. And then I'm going to change its colour by clicking on this button, called the Effects button. So if I click on that, I get this window appear, and I can now change its colour. So I'm going to change it to a green apple, like that. Now, although that's a fantastic green circle, it still doesn't look much like an apple to me. So I'm just going to get rid of these windows by clicking on the crosses. And then I think to make this look more like an apple, I'm going to draw a stalk on it. Now, which tool could I use to draw a stalk on my apple? I'm going to use this tool. This tool is the Draw tool. And if I click on that button, I can now use this pencil to draw any shape that I like. So if I carefully move my pencil over to the green circle, and just draw a nice line like that, that could be my stalk. Now again, you don't tend to have blue stalks on apples, they tend to be brown. So I need to change the colour of it. But you'll notice that because I've got the pencil tool selected, I can't now select this blue stalk. So, to get my arrow back, I need to click back on this button. And now I have my arrow back. I can then move it over to the stalk, click on the stalk. I know it's been selected because it has this red box around it. And then what do you think I do? That's right, I click back on the Effects button, and I can change the colour of my blue stalk to a brown colour. Now that's looking more like an apple. Now the last thing I'm going to do on this document, on this video, is I want to change the colour of this letter A here. Now to do that, you'll notice my arrow moving around my screen. I move it up towards my letter A and watch the arrow change from an arrow to a hash, like that. Once it's changed, I need to move that hash after my letter A here and carefully click, keep hold of your mouse button and drag across the letter A, like that, so that it's got this grey box around it. That means that I've selected the letter A. Once I've selected it, I need to again press the Effects button here, and I can change the letter A to any colour I like. I'm going to change it to a green. I'm going to close this window, and to get rid of this grey box around the A, I can just click anywhere on my screen, like that, and I can now see that I've got a green A, and it says A is for apple, and then I've got my picture of my apple. So that's how we start typing and creating a document to teach Year 1 students about the alphabet. Okay.